Years ago, I was invited to speak in Argentina for a week. Flying from Minnesota to New York to Miami to Santiago, Chile to Buenos Aires, it was a miserable flight. And I don't like flying to begin with. It was a long, miserable trip. When I get there, the local shliach picks me up at the airport, takes me to a hotel room, I recover, and then the next day I'm ready to work. He picks me up, we're in the car, and I'm really looking forward to the hotel room. And he says to me, there's a woman here in the community who suffered a terrible tragedy. She refuses to speak to anyone. She hasn't left her apartment in over 6 months. She's severely depressed, but she agreed to speak to you. So we'll stop at her apartment on the way to the hotel. And you'll talk to her. I was not thrilled. I was very not thrilled. I wasn't thrilled at all. I was really, really upset. First of all, and you'll speak to her. She's severely depressed. You speak to her. What do you say to somebody who's severely depressed? Secondly, it has to be on the way to the airport. It's been 6 months. She can't wait another day. But more than that, it bothered me that they just went ahead and made the appointment. Didn't ask me, didn't warn me. But she's expecting us, so we had to go. Make a long story short, we go in there, and this woman is not among the living. There is no life in her. There's no life in the room. And she tells me what happened. Her 19-year-old son was returning from their country home, and he got into a car accident, and he didn't survive. And then she tells me what a wonderful, magnificent person this boy was. Respectful and sensitive and intelligent and responsible. Everything you could possibly want in a child. So when she finishes, I didn't know what to say. I said, wow, what a kid, what a boy. And you had him for 19 years. She was not pleased. So I said, it's the shock, the suddenness, no warning. But imagine if God had come to you, no shock, no surprises. If God had said, there's a soul in heaven that needs to come down to this world for 19 years, very special soul. And I'm looking for someone to be his mother. And if God had asked you, would you be the mother of this child for 19 years? No surprises. What would you have said? I was sure she would say yes. She said, absolutely not. So, caught by surprise, I said, well, then it's a good thing he didn't ask you. The flood of tears that opened up, all the grief came out, and 20 minutes later, she was back among the living. Probably the most significant, the most amazing experience I've had in 50 years. It was literally seeing a person who had passed away come back to life. Back in the car, going to the hotel. And I'm thinking how upset I was that they didn't ask me. And then I realized, if they had asked me, what would I have said? I would have said, absolutely not. And it would have been the wrong answer. So it's a good thing they didn't ask me. So I learned my lesson, and I vowed that from now on, anytime I'm asked to do something productive, useful, kind, generous? The answer is absolutely yes. That's what I vowed. Years later, like 15 years later, I'm invited to speak in Mexico City. It's not as long a flight, obviously, but the traffic from the airport to the hotel went on forever. Terrible traffic and crawling. The guy who picks me up says, out of nowhere, he says, "You know, this is not Argentina. We're going straight to the hotel." I said, "You've done your research, you know my history?" "That's very nice." I said, Thank you. He says, "At the hotel, there's a couple waiting for you who suffered a terrible tragedy. They're done talking to people. They're turned off. They're very hurt. They're very angry. In fact, they're leaving the community. And they won't talk to anybody else. But they agreed to talk to you. So you'll talk to them in the hotel lobby." I said, "Can it be in an hour?" No. They're in a hurry. They're off to the airport because they're leaving the city. It's got to be now. I forgot my vow. I was very upset. And we come to the hotel, and there is this beautiful couple sitting there. And they tell me their story. 6-year-old girl died very suddenly of an aneurysm. And they weren't home at the time. Amazing, amazing people. He, the father, used to be the life of the party at the synagogue. He was the role model for the others. He says, "You know why I'm so angry at God? Because I love him, and he stabbed me in the back." And he just went on, all the pain, he says, "And I'm done talking. I don't want to hear anymore. I've heard all the answers and all the justifications, and that's it. I don't know what to do other than to leave town." So I had to say something that he hadn't yet heard. So I said, "Did your daughter visit you yet?" He says, "Yeah, twice." I said, "What did she tell you?" He said, "She didn't say anything. She just smiled, letting me know that she's okay." I said, "And why did she come twice?" He didn't know. I said, "She's trying to tell you something. She is okay, but you're not letting her enjoy it. She's 6 years old. She is your daughter, and she needs her daddy. You don't get older in heaven. She's still 6 years old. And a 6-year-old needs her parents. She needs her daddy. But what she knows is that you're upset, that you're angry, you're no longer putting on tefillin, you're no longer keeping Shabbat, and you're blaming her. This is what you do to your daughter? Why did you stop being her father when she needs you the most?" He said, "Should I put on my tefillin now or wait till I get home?" Again, an amazing turnaround. 15-minute conversation. But now I understood the first story. Why did she start to cry when I said it's a good thing he didn't ask you? I never understood it. But now it made sense. When she said, "I would refuse to be his mother if God asked," it shocked her. What did I just say? No to my son? What kind of mother is this? And that's when the tears opened up. So what literally happens is in both cases, they forgot their relationships. They became mourners instead of parents, mourners instead of mother. Once they went back to being in the relationship, it became a healing process. And that's true of a 6-year-old girl who is in heaven and is still her father's, her daddy's daughter, and still needs her daddy and wants his happiness. And if that's true of an average 6-year-old, it is certainly true of the Rebbe. The Rebbe has not changed. He is still our Rebbe. He is still concerned with every ache, with every worry, with every wrinkle, with every gray hair that you're suffering from, because that's a Rebbe. It doesn't stop. It doesn't change. And that's why people who go to the Rebbe's resting place come away with miracles. Because the Rebbe relates, even though he's not suffering our aches and pains, he relates to our aches and pains.